He punched a pterodactyl in the face and lived. He faked his own death in a car crash on a back road in Oregon. He spent 30 years pretending to be his own brother, while a nuclear-grade portal hummed under his living room. He is banned from a long list of states, and has done time inside a Colombian prison cell, with two men who could not stand him. He once tried to convince a small town to elect him as their mayor, on a platform of letting children fight each other for dominance. He married a woman in Las Vegas who divorced him 6 hours later. After stealing his car, he let a demon walk into his own mind and burn the whole place down on purpose? He runs a tourist trap built on top of a doomsday device, sells fake wonders for cash, and somehow ends up as the man who saves the universe. Banned from a majority of states, imprisoned in 3 different countries, reduced to renting a room at the Dead End Flats motel, and remaining in debt to Rico, Stan's life had seemingly hit rock bottom until the arrival of a postcard from his brother Stanford. His real name is not even the one he uses on screen. The man you have been laughing at for 2 seasons is in many ways the most layered character on the show. Tonight, we settle in for the crazy facts behind Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls. The first thing to know is that the man calling himself Grunkle Stan is not technically Grunkle Stan. He is by birth Stanley Pines. The Stanford Pines on the deed of the Mystery Shack belongs to his twin brother. That is the central twist that hides in plain sight for the whole first season, and once you know it, every scene in those early episodes reads differently. Look at Tourist Trapped, the first ever episode. He hands Dipper a journal that he himself supposedly wrote. He plays the gruff, dollar-chasing huckster. He says, "Welcome to the Mystery Shack." Everything about him is a lie, except the part where he loves the kids more than he can say out loud. By the time you hit A Tale of Two Stans in Season 2, the trick lands like a hammer when Stan accidentally damaged Ford's perpetual motion machine, ruining the latter's chances of getting into West Coast tech. Philbrick believed he had done it on purpose. This leads to him angrily disowning Stan for ruining their family's chances of living a better life. As he kicks his son out of their house, the fan community calls these two boys Stanley and Stanford, or Lee and Ford, depending on which corner of the internet you trip into. Inside the show, they are the deep, tragic engine of the whole story. Outside the show on Tumblr, Reddit, Discord servers, and old fan wikis, people have spent more than a decade pulling apart every shot, every reflection in a window, every line of ciphertext to figure out the man under the fez. And that fez is its own thing. The symbol on it changes through the show. It looks like a crescent moon with a small tail. In some shots, it is a flat crescent. In others, it has a hook. One of the most notable acts of censorship is the removal of the symbol. On Stan Pines' fez from the episode Tourist Trapped to the episode Boss Mabel, which depicted a crescent moon with a fishtail, fans noted right away that this fez logo was tied to a fictional secret society in the show called the Royal Order of the Holy Mackerel, which Stan was once a member of. So the goofy red hat is not just a hat. It is a membership badge for a club of con men who worship a fish god. That tells you a lot about who Stan Pines is before he even opens his mouth. To really understand Grunkle Stan, you have to go back to a small town on the East Coast that almost no one in Gravity Falls knows about. Stanley Pines was born on June 15th, sometime in the late 1940s, early 1950s, to Philbrick and Karen Pines in Glass Shard Beach, New Jersey, one of a set of twins. The name Glass Shard Beach alone tells you everything you need to know about what kind of childhood was waiting for him there. It is a town that sounds like stepping on broken bottles in the surf. Stan came out of the womb 15 minutes after his twin Ford. That tiny gap was treated like a forever fact by his father. Ford was the older one. Ford was the smart one. Ford was the one with 6 fingers on each hand, the one the family quietly bet on. Stan was just Stan. He was the second twin. He was the spare. His father, Philbrick Pines, ran a small business called Pines Ponds. In A Tale of Two Stans, he's described as being a strict man, tough as a cinder block and not easily impressed. With everything, the exception being when Ford was qualified for West Coast Tech, Philbrick had a way of standing in a doorway and saying nothing. While his son tried to explain himself, that kind of silence shapes a kid. Stan grew up trying to earn a smile that almost never came. Their mother, Karen, ran a phone scam business as a fake psychic. Take a second and imagine that. The mother is calling strangers and pretending to read their futures for cash. The father is running a pawn shop where heartbroken people sell off their wedding rings. The two boys grow up watching their parents sell illusions for a living. Is it any wonder that one of them ended up running a tourist trap full of fake monsters, and the other one ended up chasing real ones? The fan community has noted that the Pines family were raised Jewish. According to Hirsch, Philbrick and Karen raised Stan, Ford, and Shermie as Jews. Series creator Alex Hirsch has shared this on social media. Stan was raised Jewish, but is now an atheist. Dip and Mab were raised unreligiously, but celebrate all holidays at Mabel's insistence. A mezuzah is visible on the doorframe of Pines Pawns in flashback shots. Fans have used that small detail to read entire layers of meaning into Stan's life. His humor, his way of talking, his loud sales pitch, the way he carries a chip on his shoulder about being underestimated. The Pines twins were close as kids. They were each other's only friend. Inseparable as children, Stan was protective of his physically weaker twin, standing up to bullies for him and being wholeheartedly accepting of Ford's 6 fingers, even incorporating them into their personal salute, the high 6. That detail about the high 6 hits hard once you understand it. Ford was born with a 6th finger on each hand. That extra digit became the cipher symbol that haunts the whole show. The other kids in town used it as a reason to torment him. There was one particular bully, a kid named Krampelter, who would round up his friends and try to make Ford feel like a freak. Stan, the skinny brother, the second twin, would step in front of him every single time. In A Tale of Two Stans, there is a scene of young Stan smashing his fist through a wooden board with no fear at all. He even explicitly sets himself up as the brawn in contrast to Ford's brains. Stan tells Ford in so many words, "Good thing you got your smarts. I got the punching." That is the core of every relationship Stan ever builds. He decides early that his job is to be the body. Ford gets to be the mind. Seuss later becomes the heart. Stan is the fists. He carries this idea of himself like an old jacket. He puts it on every morning of his life. There is a sneaky detail buried in Dreamscaperers that the most careful fans love to point out. When Stan tells Suze about being a wimpy kid who got bullied until his dad signed him up for boxing, the version of his childhood that he describes does not exactly match the version we later see in A Tale of Two Stans. The wimpy boy in glasses Stan describes. That is probably Ford. Stan is, even in his own private story to a teenage employee, blending his life with his brother's. By the time we meet him, he has spent so long pretending to be Stanford that his memories themselves are starting to lean that way. And there is a quiet little ache in there. Stan was the punching brother. He was the one who could not be hurt. But he was also the one who, in his own head, sometimes pictures himself as the weaker twin. The one who needed protecting. The one who never got it. Philbrick Pines did not handle the bullying with hugs and gentle talks. He signed both his sons up for boxing lessons. In Dreamscaperers, Philbrick appeared in a memory held in Stan's mindscape, satisfactorily watching his son taking boxing lessons as a child, the way Stan tells it later when he is leaning against a wall in the Mystery Shack. Talking to Suze, his dad's idea of help was to push him into a ring and let him learn the hard way. He hated his father for it as a boy. As a man, he repeats it. You can see this echo in Season 1. He pushes Dipper to do things Dipper hates. He gives him a job that involves cleaning out the Porta-Johns. He makes Dipper carry boxes that weigh more than Dipper does. He laughs at his nephew's voice cracks. From the outside, it looks like cruelty. From the inside of his own head, it is love. He is doing what his father did to him. Because in his own broken way, he thinks it will toughen up the kid he loves most. Making Dipper do difficult chores is Stan's sneaky way of preparing him to fight back. As revealed in Dreamscaperers, it is not clean parenting. It is parenting through a fog of pain. But it is parenting, and that is more than he ever got himself. Years later in his life, far, far away from Glass Shard Beach, Stan will reach into his own past again. He will let a triangle demon walk into his mind and torch the place. Hold that picture. Now imagine that boy, 50 years later, looking up at the same demon his father might as well have been, and saying you're a real wise guy, But you made one fatal mistake. You messed with my family. There is one night in the history of the Pines family that everything else swings around. One night, one mistake, one swing of a wooden display in the dark of a high school gym. After that night, nothing in the Pines house is ever the same again. It happens during senior year of high school. Ford has built a machine for the school science fair. It is called a perpetual motion machine. It is the kind of project that wins kids' real attention. The college is called West Coast Tech. It is far away. It is fancy. It is the kind of place that lifts a kid out of Glass Shard Beach for good. Stan is failing his classes. His girlfriend Carla has just dumped him. His brother is about to leave for the other side of the country. He is sitting on a swing set staring at the ocean. He sneaks into the school. He stands in front of his brother's project. The dream that is taking his brother away is sitting right there on a table. He punches it, or shoves it, or kicks it. The show is careful to make it look like an accident, but it is the kind of accident that lives inside a fist. The machine breaks. The display falls. The little gear inside stops spinning. The next day, Ford goes to demo his project for the West Coast Tech Scout. The machine fails. The scout walks away. Ford's dream walks away with him. When Ford finds out what happened, he tells their father, and Philbrick, the cinder block of a man we already met, decides on the spot that Stan did it on purpose. The fandom has spent years arguing about that night. Was it on purpose? Was it not? Was it some half-conscious thing where his hand moved before his brain could stop it? In the actual flashback in the episode, the show is careful. It is dim. It is shadowed. Stan's hand brushes the machine. The display falls. He looks horrified. He did not mean to wreck his brother's future. But in that small moment of brushing past it, there is the truth of a boy who is angry about being left behind. Philbrick does not stop to read the difference. He throws his teenage son out of the house. He kicks his son out of their house, telling him he could only come back when he had earned the kind of fortune that he cost them. Think about that. He is 17. He has a bag. He has a car. He does not have a diploma. He does not have a brother on his side. He does not have a mother who will fight for him. He does not have a roof. His father stands in the doorway and tells him he can come back when he has earned millions. Then the door closes. That door closing is, in some ways, the loudest single sound in the whole show. Everything Stan does for the next 40 or 50 years. Everything you laugh at on screen, every penny he scams, every fake exhibit, every dollar he counts in the till, every dollar sign in his eyes, it all comes from this one slam. After that door closes, Stan disappears from his family for a very long time. The show does not give us every detail, but it gives us enough to break your heart in pieces. He drives. He sleeps in his car. He gets into whatever work will feed him. He starts to sell things. He calls his first company Stan Co. Enterprises. Through his self-managed company, Stan made and sold a variety of cheap and poorly constructed household utilities, from Stan Co. pitchforks, which broke apart, to the total sham towels. The cheap dye used to color them made stains worse, both of which resulted in Stan Co. Enterprises, along with Stan himself, being banned from the state of New Jersey. Read those product names again: pitchforks that fell apart, sham towels that made stains worse. He is selling junk. He is selling promises. He is doing exactly what his mother used to do on her psychic phone calls. He is doing exactly what his father used to do at the pawn shop. He is just doing it in worse English and on the side of a highway. He has become his parents. Then he leaves New Jersey because the state has thrown him out. He moves on to Pennsylvania. The process repeated itself after Stan altered his identity and reopened shop in Pennsylvania, where his rash-prone rip-off Band-Aids ran him out of the state yet again. The rip-off Band-Aids. Picture them in your head. Picture a man your grandfather's age standing on a corner with a tray of bandages that give people rashes. Picture him smiling and telling them they will heal. Picture the moment they peel one off and find their skin angry and red. Picture the police arriving. Picture Stan running for his car. Again, he keeps going. He invents something called the Stan Vac. It fails. He tries other products. They fail. And along the way, he picks up a habit that becomes the engine of his life. He changes his name. He pulls a new ID out of his pocket. He becomes someone else and starts again. This is where the long list of aliases starts to grow. Stetson Pinefield, Steve Pennington, Hal Forrester. Every state has a new Stan in it. Every new town gets a fresh version of him. There's something almost sad about the names themselves. The way they all sound like cousins of his real one. He cannot quite let go of being Stanley Pines. He just keeps building near versions of himself. The fan community loves to imagine these years. Long stretches of nothing but Stan in a car, eating cold cans of beans, driving until the gas runs out. Tumblr is full of art of young Stan in old motels. His hair greasy, his hands cut up, his eyes hollow. Fanfic has been written about every state on that ban list. Some of it is silly. Some of it is frankly sadder than the show ever lets itself be. There is a famous detail in the show. Half a joke, half a clue. Stan once chewed his way out of a car trunk. Read that one more time. He chewed his way out of a car trunk. That is the kind of thing that happens to a man whose life has stopped being a life and has started being a string of escapes. When the United States stops being a safe place to run his cons, Stan does what only Stan would do. He goes international. He drives or flies or somehow drags himself down into Colombia and tries to pull off a heist. We do not know all the details, but we know how it ends, with numerous encounters with the law and a plethora of fake IDs and faulty products left in his wake. Stan expanded his business out of the country, resulting in an awry heist in Colombia that landed him in foreign prison, alongside cellmates Jorge and Rico. He shares a cell with two men. One is named Jorge, the other is named Rico. Rico becomes important later. He tries to bond with both of them. He cracks jokes. He makes small talk. Stan attempted to bond with them, much to both prisoners' intense dislike. They hate him. They do not laugh at his jokes. They do not warm up to him. He is, even in a foreign prison cell, the lonely uncle at the family table that no one wants to sit near. Picture this moment. The cell is small. The light is bad. Stan is on a bunk, trying to make a Colombian cartel man chuckle, while the man stares at the wall in silence. This is, in the timeline of Stan Pines, almost rock bottom, but it is not the bottom. The bottom is still waiting for him, in a town called Dead End Flats. When he gets out of that prison, he comes back to the United States with nothing. No company, no products, no legal name he can use without getting arrested. He ends up in a place that the show, with no mercy at all, names Dead End Flats, New Mexico. The name is the joke. It is also the truth. He has hit a wall. He is renting a room by the night. He is in debt to Rico, the man from the Colombian cell, who somehow has reached into the United States. He has been banned from 32 states. He has been in 3 different prisons. He is alone. He is broke. He is far past the age when most people figure their lives out. The fan community has had a lot of fun with that 32 states stat. There are jokes on social media where fans take a map of the United States, mark the red states and the blue states, and then label them all states Stan Pines was banned from. The map is a meme. The underlying fact is a portrait. The exact number wobbles a bit depending on which wiki and which canon source you trust. But no matter how you count it, the man is a walking warrant. And then, in this motel room in New Mexico, while Rico is somewhere out there waiting for his money, a postcard arrives. The first word Stan has had from his brother in more than a decade. The postcard is from Stanford, the brother who got him kicked out, the brother who became a stranger, the brother whose name he was, in a way, born to lose by 15 minutes. The postcard is short. It is desperate. It says, "Come to Gravity Falls." It contained a desperate plea for Stan's presence. Stan confronts Ford minutes before his disappearance. Stan traveled to his brother's new home in the woods of Gravity Falls, Oregon, to find Ford confined in his shack and borderline insane with paranoia. This is the moment the show treats like a hinge. Without that postcard, Stan never makes it to Oregon. Without Oregon, there is no Mystery Shack, no Dipper, no Mabel, no Suze, no Wendy, no Bill Cipher in a fez, no Apocalypse, no Save. The whole story we love runs through that postcard. He drives north. He drives for days. He shows up in a town in the woods full of strange light in the trees. He finds his brother in a cabin. His brother is thinner than he should be. His brother has not slept in a long time. His brother has a gun in his hand and a piece of paper full of math on the wall. His brother does not greet him with a hug. He hands him a book, a journal with a six-fingered hand on the cover. He tells him to take it and go far away. He says it is too dangerous to keep close. Stan is furious. He came across the country for a hug. He came for a brother. He came for a chance to fix things. Instead, he gets a book and a get out. So he does what he does best. He fights. He yells. He grabs the journal and threatens to burn it. Ford lunges for it. They struggle. In the heat of the fight, one of them shoves a little too hard. The shoulder of Stan's jacket catches on a hot metal panel. It is revealed in A Tale of Two Stans that Stan got this mark after being kicked by Ford and stumbling backward into hot metal. He screams, he stumbles, and in the confusion, Ford falls backward through the open mouth of the portal he has built into the side of the lab. He falls into a swirl of blue light. He is gone. For 30 years, he is gone. The shoulder burn from that night never fully heals. Stan carries it on his body for the rest of his life, hidden under his shirt, his own private brand. From the night his brother slipped through a hole in space. The fandom has noted that Bill's cipher later refers to that burn as a sign that means watch your step, as if the universe itself wrote a warning on Stan's skin. Stan stands in the lab. The portal is dark. His brother is in another dimension. He does not know if Ford is alive. He does not know how to fix this. He cannot call the police. He cannot call his father. He cannot call anyone. He spends weeks down there in the basement, trying to turn the portal back on. He cannot do it without the other two journals. He runs out of money. He runs out of food. He goes into town in a daze. He stops at a small shop to buy a loaf of bread. He has no cash. The shop owners look at him. They squint. They say, "Hey, Stanford, did you get tall?" Or something close to that. They think he is his brother. That moment is the second hinge. And he picks it up without thinking. He says yes. He says he is Stanford. He starts to sell tours of his strange cabin in the woods. The store owners mistook him for his legendary housemate, Stanford Pines, and offered him tours to earn money. He assumed his brother's identity, faked his death, and opened the murder hut, later renamed the Mystery Shack. The first tour does not go well. A piece of strange equipment shines a light into a woman's eye, and she ends up with a lazy eye for life. He thinks fast. He grabs an old prop. He builds a story on the spot. The tourists buy it. They pay. He has, for the first time in his life, found a hustle that works. But he manages to save it by hastily making up a dead tourist skeleton. That lazy eye, by the way, belongs to a woman named Susan. She becomes Lazy Susan, the waitress at the diner, later in the show. So a small slip in Stan's very first tour is the reason. A beloved background character has a famous lazy eye. The whole town has been quietly shaped by Stan Pines without ever realizing. To keep the house out from under the bank, he has to pay the mortgage. To pay the mortgage, he has to be Stanford. To be Stanford, he has to be officially alive as Stanford. But Stanford has been gone for weeks, so Stan does the most Stan thing he could do. He fakes the death of Stanley Pines. He stages a car crash. In order to maintain his false identity as Ford, Stan faked his death as Stanley by faking a car crash. A car goes off a road somewhere in Oregon. The newspapers run a small headline, "Stan Pines dead." The man inside is alive. The name on the headstone is half a lie. The brother whose name is on the deed is in another dimension. The man at the cash register of the Mystery Shack is, for the next 30 years, a ghost wearing his brother's name. That newspaper headline, by the way, is the same one Dipper finds, tucked in a drawer in Not What He Seems, decades later. It is one of the cleanest pieces of foreshadowing in the entire show. The clue has been sitting in a drawer in plain sight since season 1, and Dipper just has not been ready to read it. While searching his room, the twins find an old newspaper clipping that reports on the death of Stan Pines. The murder hut becomes the Mystery Shack. The vending machine becomes the entrance to the basement. The journals become Stan's lifeline. He spends his days giving overpriced tours of fake monsters. He spends his nights underground, trying to rebuild a machine he does not fully understand, to bring back a brother who, the last time they spoke, did not want to look him in the eye. That, more than the fez, more than the gold chain, more than the 8-ball cane, is who Grunkle Stan really is. A man living inside his brother's life, trying to bring his brother back from the dead, while pretending to be a clown for tourists during the day. Most of the show treats Stan like a goofball who naps in front of the TV and yells about pennies. The fans, the real fans, the ones who go back through every episode after watching the finale, know that almost every scene of him on a couch is a man who is exhausted because he was up all night under the floorboards. That is the part of his story the show holds back until the very end, and once you know it, you cannot watch the early episodes the same way again. For 30 years, every single night, Stan Pines went down a hidden ladder, he pulled aside a vending machine, he climbed down into a lab he did not build, he stood in front of a portal he did not invent, and he worked alone. He worked with 2 of the 3 journals missing. He worked with parts he had to steal piece by piece. Every night, he tried to reactivate the portal to bring back his brother. He's lied to everyone in town for 30 years, including the twins, to keep the portal's existence a secret. Think about how lonely that work is. He cannot tell anyone what he is doing. He cannot bring in a buddy. He cannot ask for help. He has no scientific training. He failed high school. He is reading his brother's handwriting in a journal that is full of math he does not understand. He is trying to bring back a man who, the last time they spoke, was screaming at him. He is doing it because his brother is family, and family is the only thing Stan Pines has ever truly believed in, even when his own family threw him out on a curb. The fandom has spent a lot of time on this stretch of years. There are long Tumblr essays about the texture of those 30 years, the shape of the days, the slow build of debt, the way the radioactive waste he kept collecting must have been ruining his health. In Not What He Seems, it is revealed that Stan has been collecting radioactive waste for the purpose of powering a doomsday device. He was sneaking onto government sites. He was driving in trucks with stolen plates. He was risking jail again, not for money, for a brother who was not even sure to come back. The way the show tells it, you only really realize what Stan was doing all that time when the federal agents show up in Not What He Seems. They have a folder on him. They have photographs. They have a long list. He is not just running a tourist trap. He is a man who has been quietly committing a slow, hidden, patient crime for 3 decades because he refuses to give up on his brother. Sleep well? That is the story of Grunkle Stan.